panic room. Door locked. Good. Oh, hey, everybody. I didn't know you were in the panic room here with me. You know, I know a lot about Disney. Some would say too much. Some certain corporations out there would say too much. And I feel like it's my duty as a Disney adult to spread that knowledge, spread that information, whether or not they want me to. You know who they are. It's Disney, the Disney, Walt Disney Company, Walt Disney Incorporated. Now that I'm here in the relative safety of my safe room, I feel like I should share with you some lesser known, some lesser talked about Disney conspiracy theories. Okay, these are going to be things that are uncommon knowledge, things that you may have heard before, but there's extra levels to these. Shadow organizations, mysterious creatures in the parks that for some reason are off limits to the public. These are all real, these are all documented, and I am here to prove it to you. Just get my computer here, and now we can go into voiceover mode. Activate. Hello? Can you hear me? Am I coming in clear? Try this. Hello? How's that? Oh, good. I suppose I should just share with you the facts before it's too late, and believe me, it is almost too late. We'll begin at Walt Disney World, specifically Discovery Island. Now, we've talked about Discovery Island many times before. It's no secret or conspiracy as to why it closed. No, there wasn't a photo-negative Mickey Mouse taking off its head. That's completely made up. Fictional. Didn't happen. Discovery Island was, in essence, a precursor to Animal Kingdom, and when Animal Kingdom itself opened up in 1998, there was less and less reason to visit the island in the middle of Bay Lake. But instead of either renaming Discovery Island or demolishing the structures on the island already and replacing it with something else, as is the practice today, Disney decided to leave the island abandoned. Every structure and facility that was on Discovery Island when it closed its gates for the very last time in April of 1999 is still there to this day, being reclaimed slowly but very, very surely by nature. Now, one of the very first urban explorers on Discovery Island documented his trip. His name is Shane Perez, and you can see some of his pictures right there. Very cool, very atmospheric. But there's one discovery Shane made on his expedition that never really sat right with me. That always raised more questions about Discovery Island, and that's this picture right here. You may not know what you're looking at right now, and for a while I wasn't either, but these are preserved specimens in Coke bottles and jars in some sort of mysterious liquid. And snakes? Lizards? Who knows? What are these things? What are they doing on Discovery Island? My only question is, why? Was this something secretive cast members were doing behind the scenes when Discovery Island was open? Maybe this was a project of some urban explorer that got to the island before Shane? It's really unclear. There is no information besides this image and a brief description on his blog spot, linked, by the way, in the description down below, that reads, "Venturing further into the island, we came across a storage building that was filled with all sorts of leftover paperwork, photos, and some preserved snakes in odd containers." That's it. Now, after viewing this photo, I decided why not do a little bit of detective work. You can see one of the, I guess, containers used to preserve the snakes is a Diet Coke bottle. I started looking through old Diet Coke advertisements from the year 2009, the year this photo was taken on Discovery Island, to see if I could match up the design with a certain year. Notice the cursive Diet above the bold red Coke, and most importantly for our investigation, the bubbly gray background and the red cup. A 2009 commercial with Heidi Klum features a solid gray background and a different logo, so while a can is used in the commercial, not a plastic bottle, the design language is very, very different, so we can safely assume that the bottle is from an earlier date from when the picture was taken. Going even further back, I decided to take a look at a commercial from 2001 or 2000, around the time when Discovery Island had closed. I found a really weird one from 2001 featuring voiceover from Ben Affleck of Batman fame, featuring a new design for the can, again, not a bottle, but the design language is much more similar to the bottle found on Discovery Island. And so I decided, yeah, this is from 2001, maybe 1999, the year it closed, maybe that design will still be present. So, 1999, a commercial about a man trying to buy a ring for his fiancée, I guess. Also, Diet Coke is there too. Okay, so he's buying a ring, and he did. Oh, look at that smile. That's the smile. Oh, what a winning smile this guy has. Okay. Okay, you're losing me. There's the. Oh, that looks familiar. Okay, you're losing me again. This guy seems kind of like a scumbag sort of character. Okay, quick sip of Diet Coke. Everything's looking good, and Is this commercial supposed to make me, like, root for this guy? Dude's a slime ball, okay? He's a sleaze bag. Insert other names to call him here. You'll notice the can, dang it, he drinks out of, and the ones shown at the very end of the commercial still have that same design. Gray bubbly background and the red cup. It lines up perfectly. Going back even further to 1995, we find a sweaty shirtless man drinking a Diet Coke, and the design, look at that, it's different. No bubbles, no red cup. 1996 features the same design, but moving ahead to 1997, we can see that's when the design changed. And I found the ad stopped using it in 2003, so 1997 through 2002 is when this bottle was in production. Which doesn't help my case at all, because Discovery Island closed in 1999, so it's 97 through 99, maybe the bottle was there. 99 through 02, yeah, equally as likely.
Now, was this a sort of diabolical bioengineering plan they had for Discovery Island before it closed? And that was the reason why it closed in the first place. They were mutating things there. They were mutating snakes, lizards, maybe even birds and reptiles there. I think that all of that is actually a myth. I think that was the bottles were set up there by previous urban explorers and maybe even previous cast members of Discovery Island. I need to take this off because it's no longer needed. I just think it was a weird thing that some trespassers or some cast members who still had access to the island did in their spare time, just to be weird, just to be funky, just to be freaky. Are those bottles still there? I don't know. I'm gonna ask one, like, nobody break into Discovery Island, obviously. Just someone who works security, you know, for Walt Disney World, who travels in the little boats across the Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake. Are the bottles still there? Check for me next time you're there. I'd love an official, sanctioned visit to Discovery Island to see if the snakes are still preserved in that weird 2000s Coke bottle.
Why were these poor animals preserved in an unknown liquid on Discovery Island? The answer is probably some wacky teenagers getting up to no good. That's my honest opinion.
Okay then, moving on to our second case file. Walter Elias Disney, the founder or co-founder of the company, the creative driving force behind Disneyland, Disney movies from all the way up until the 60s. Walt was the man. He was the father of Disney. He may have had a few secrets as well. Walt had these habits that he didn't like everybody to know about, and some that were so secretive they don't want you to know about. You know who they are, right? The Walt Disney Company. Again, this is the second time I've been through this. Now, they may not want you to know about this, and heck, I don't even want you to know about this, but I'm going to tell you anyway because you're my friend, and I want you to be well informed about these things. You know, Walt Disney smoked cigarettes.
That's right, they don't want you to know it, but I'm here spreading the truth whether they like it or not. Walt Disney was a cigarette smoker. In fact, it's what ended up taking his life in '66, lung cancer. It's what finally did him in. Now, there are many documented instances of Walt Disney smoking both inside and outside of Disneyland. I was going to say the parks, but it was just the park back in those days. And in official Disney-sanctioned use of some of these pictures, Walt's cigarette is mysteriously absent. It's airbrushed out, resulting in him using his two fingers to point at a door, something. He's pointing at nothing here. It's a cigarette that's gone. And as a well-traveled visitor to the Disney parks, you may notice that cast members are inclined to use these same two fingers to point in different directions or at different things for guests who may be confused as to where to go or what to eat. It's the mint julep. Hint, hint. It's always the mint julep.
Now, the conspiracy is this, my friends. Disney does not want you to know about Walt's smoking habits. That's why they airbrush his cigarette out of every picture, except for the ones that I've shown you in this video, and plenty more you can find online if you just do a quick, Google search. They're trying to keep it hidden, and so in these pictures where the cigarette is airbrushed out, it looks like he's instead pointing at something, pointing at someone, or some sort of mint julep-like beverage, which conveniently gives Disney an out as to why their cast members are told to point with two fingers instead of just one. They say it's for this reason or for that reason, but really it's to have continuity, to hide the fact that Walt Disney was always puffing that magic dragon.
Now, what evidence is there of this conspiracy theory being true? Well, it is true that Disney airbrushes the cigarettes out of any official photo of Walt that's being used, in a Disney capacity in which he was originally smoking. So is it true? Is the two-finger point all just a cover-up for Walt Disney's bad habits? No.
or at least not entirely. You see, another popular theory as to why cast members point with their index and middle finger as opposed to just their index is that it's offensive in some cultures, and that seems to be true, mostly in Southeast Asian cultures like Cambodia, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And Disney says it's to avoid coming off as rude or doing any inappropriate gestures to any Southeast Asian or people who may just be offended by that anyways when they come to the parks. Everybody is welcome at Disneyland. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from. You can visit. Unless, of course, you've trespassed on Discovery Island, then you probably get banned. And the truth of the situation is a mix of the two, if you ask me. I don't really think Walt was looking out for other cultures when he was posing for this photo. But the fact that it is both, one, a respectful thing to do to all the people visiting your park from all over the world, and two, you can look back in time and point to a picture of Walt that has been edited and say, look, Walt's been doing it. It's been around since the very beginning. It's a Disney tradition. It's just helpful in the overall narrative. No, they don't do it entirely because Disney's covering up Walt's smoking. It's also just generally speaking a respectful thing to do. And I respect that respectfulness.
So the next time you're, I don't know, I'll be vague enough that it works for both coasts. You're standing in line for the railroad at the Main Street station and somebody cuts in front of you in line and you say, hey, friend, listen, we're all trying to go to Fantasyland. We're all trying to ride the Dumbo attraction. The back of the line is that way. And he gives you, you know, one of these. You can tell him, hey, friend, that's not cool to do. Back of the line is that way. Why don't you hit the road and get out of here? That way, you don't seem as confrontational as you would be otherwise.
Now, you think I'd go an entire video without talking about the People Mover? Well, you're right, I'm not talking about the People Mover in this video. Unless this counts, in which case, dang it, man. No, our next conspiracy isn't related to Tomorrowland at all, but instead the spookiest attraction at the Disney parks, specifically in this case Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion. My all-time favorite. That's right, you heard me right. Living with the Land is perfect, yes, but it can't dethrone the king. Anyways, back to whatever we were talking about. The Haunted Mansion opened to the public in 1969 in the relatively new New Orleans Square area of Disneyland. I say relatively new because it at the time was 3 years old, but you know, 3 years in the Disney parks timeline, it's a short amount of time. See, the Haunted Mansion was the spookier sister attraction to the more action-packed swashbuckling adventure that was Pirates of the Caribbean next door. And while Pirates was the home to many skeletons, it was mostly about the action, the comedy, and who could forget the atmosphere, especially in that Blue Bayou scene at the very beginning. The Haunted Mansion, though, that was mostly spooky, you know, until the second half of the ride. So spooky, in fact, that this theory revolves around the opening week of the mansion and how some would say it was too scary. In fact, it was so scary compared to what opened up later on that year that they had to close down the attraction to remove the more unsettling aspects within. Now, as we all know, the spreading of one's family member's ashes in the Haunted Mansion is not an uncommon occurrence at all of the Disney parks. I don't know what it is, something about the spooky atmosphere and the ghosts all around you just really makes people want to spread their family members' remains in this classic attraction. I couldn't tell you why, although I get like the vibes maybe there. I don't know. And the older Disney attractions have this reputation of being changed throughout the years, especially Pirates and the Mansion. And on top of that, there is a part of this sort of urban legend conspiracy theory that is accurate. The Haunted Mansion did open with certain effects and characters, or I guess a character, you all know who I'm talking about, that were only in the mansion for a very limited time. The cobwebs that would brush past your face and your body as you went through the attic scene, the suit of armor that had an actual scare actor inside of it that would roam throughout the corridor of doors in the late 90s. Shout out to my buddy Ian. Good work scaring all those people. And of course, who could forget the infamous original Hatbox Ghost audio animatronic present at the very end of the attic scene. As you know, his head was supposed to disappear off of the top of his shoulders and reappear in his hatbox before disappearing from the hatbox and reappearing where it was supposed to be. There were multiple different Hatbox Ghost animatronics made in the production of the Haunted Mansion, but ultimately they decided to go with this one that was shortly removed after the attraction opened. We're talking only a few months of the Hatbox Ghost being present in the mansion, and it's not because he was too scary, although he certainly is frightening. Look at that guy, he'll just send a shiver right down your spine. No, it's because the effect didn't look good. And this was the Haunted Mansion, baby. This was Disney's newest e-ticket attraction, the headliner for New Orleans Square. This was the rise of the resistance of its time. Disney couldn't have a terrible effect ruin the illusion, so he was removed. The urban legend claims that because the mansion was so so scary when it first opened, a guest had a heart attack, which is why they had to close it down and make it less scary. But there are no recorded instances of deaths on the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, or Walt Disney World for that matter. Sure, there's been an injury, just the one because she was jumping between doom buggies, but nothing at Disneyland. The rumor that some guest at some point in time has died in the Haunted Mansion is completely false.
I think the truth behind this conspiracy theory slash urban legend is completely false. Nobody ever died during the 1969 opening of the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. It's really just a fact that the Haunted Mansion is Disney's spookiest, creepiest ride, tied with the fact that they had to workshop effects and animatronics as they went along right after opening. Both of those things tying together makes it seem like there was something that went wrong in the early days of the mansion that had them change something on the inside for the safety of the public, but that's not what happened. It'll always just be a fun ride. Nothing more than that. Nothing more to look into here. Next topic. Move along.
You ever been out on a nice warm day at Disneyland Park, wandering around Adventureland, maybe New Orleans Square, until you decide to hop in line for Pirates of the Caribbean and just experience the wonderful smell of the water, the sound of the music, and the visuals of the ship battle scene? I mean, come on, that thing is amazing. And as you ride through the cave sequence, examining all of the skeletons as they move past you, or I suppose as you move past them, someone next to you whispers to their friend, "Did you know Walt Disney is frozen cryogenically under this very attraction?" There is a long-standing urban myth, and I call it just that, a myth, it's not real, that Walt Disney was cryogenically frozen before he died, or I suppose shortly after he died, and stored underneath Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland in hopes that future technology would make it possible to find a cure for either his lung cancer or death itself. And this, as you may know, my friends, is completely false. It's inaccurate. Never happened. It's completely made up. You see, Walt Disney, the man, was a futurist. You can see him here talking about the Florida project, which would include a city of the future, Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. And back in the 60s, various scientific journals and publications were starting to begin talking about the possibility of maybe at some point in the future, whatever ails you, whatever killed you, or whatever was killing you will be cured. That way they'd be able to thaw you out like yesterday's leftovers and inject you with whatever miracle cure they devised. So it stands to reason, one would think, that Walt Disney, the man obsessed with the future and who was working on an extremely important project as he lay dying, he was literally drawing maps of Epcot on his hospital ceiling, would probably want a little bit more time in order to make Epcot a reality. And that's what two different books said about Walt. These books, according to Snopes, are Leonard Mosley's 1986 book, Disney's World, and Mark Elliott's 1993, Walt Disney, Hollywood's Dark Prince. Ooh, it's like clickbait before clickbait. Elliott says in his book, quote, Disney's growing preoccupation with his own mortality also led him to explore the science of cryonics. Disney often mused to Roy about the notion of perhaps having himself frozen, an idea which received indulgent nods from his brother. And as far as I know, this is just completely made up. Elliot just made this up 100%. This never happened. He just put it in his book because maybe he thought it'd be funny. I don't know. And he doesn't really provide any source on this whole Walt Disney was interested in cryonics thing other than, yeah, his friends and family told me that he was. So, and then his Diane Disney Miller, his actual daughter said that he probably didn't even know what cryonics were in the first place. So who are you going to believe? Even a quick Google search of where is Walt Disney buried will tell you that his ashes are stored at Forest Lawn. So it's really easy to fact check these things for yourself. So there is a quick rundown of the urban legend, but what about the actual conspiracy? Well,
see, in the year 2013, a small, sort of low-budget movie was released. It kind of flew under the radar. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. It was called Frozen. And the running theory is this. Disney released the film Frozen so that when anybody, were to Google Walt Disney Frozen, the results that would be displayed would be in regards to the Anna and Elsa movie, Frozen, rather than Walt Disney being frozen underneath pirates, either his head or his whole body. It is there's not really a lot of continuity when it comes to what part of his body was frozen. I'm going to say it was his head. But now I want you to go ahead and give it a try yourself. If you have a phone near you, maybe a computer, anything, go ahead and Google Walt Disney Frozen and let me know what comes up. Oh, what's that? It's not results for Frozen the movie. It's results for Walt Disney being cryogenically frozen anyway. Nice try, Disney. It didn't work.
So I guess if Disney were trying to cover the tracks of Walt being buried underneath pirates, they did a pretty bad job, because this is as cut and dry as it gets. It's all over Google. I mean, there's not much more to say on this theory. Disney did not release Frozen because of the urban legend. In fact, Tangled was released in 2010, earlier than Frozen, featuring the same sort of structure, the one-word verb title. Actually, Gigantic was another Disney movie that was supposed to come out, never released, but also had that one-word title, just like Tangled and Frozen. Rip Gigantic. I am so sad that movie never ended up getting made. But I mean, these movies having similar titles just sort of connects them even more. They're very much like cousin movies, or sister movies, eh? They sort of remind me of each other, even though they aren't directly related, aside from that one cameo that absolutely blew up the internet for some reason. I get it, guys, it's interesting. All of the Disney movies happen in the same universe, trust me. I may be sitting in a room full of tinfoil right now, but I mean, I've been debunking a lot more conspiracy theories this video than I have been confirming them.
All right, our next conspiracy theory is the Disneyland People Mover actually open? We're just all too blind to see it. Well, this theory, it doesn't really matter. You know, every time I share a Disney conspiracy theory, two more grow up in its place. It's like a hydra. I will never be able to cover all of the Disney conspiracies, so what's even the point? What am I even doing in this bunker? They're not trying to get me. This is just set dressing. None of this actually matters. Okay, well, this is coming down. I'm going back to the green screen. I hate this. It's so dark in here.
See, now isn't this just so much better? The audio, it's a lot crisper, a lot clearer. The lighting, it's so bright and vibrant out here in front of the green screen. Go ahead and... Can't snap with that hand. There we have it. Look at that. A beautiful green screen backdrop. I don't even know what I was worried about in the first place. You know, just because people talk about Walt Disney being frozen, or the fact that maybe there's some underground tunnels underneath the Magic Kingdom, nobody really cares, especially not Disney. It's not like they're going to give me a media pass or anything. So thank you all for watching this video. I suppose we should just go to the end card. Wow. I mean, this new sense of freedom without having to care about what Disney thinks of me. It's so freeing. It's so wonderful. I love this. Oh. Yeah, end card now. End card now! Okay. Okay, I think we're okay. I think everything's cool. Thank you all for watching this video on top 10 favorite Disney songs and smells. I did 10 of each. There were 20 of them. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button. Also, if you're new around here and you want more content like top 10 Disney treats after dark, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's so simple. You can also, for just $1 or more a month, you can join my Patreon over at patreon.com/offhanddisney. They're the ones who help keep this channel going. They help keep me alive, and it's a really good system if you want to get early access to some videos. Again, there's a link in the description down below. Offhand Disney on Patreon. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video about living with the land. Yeah, it's gonna be about living with the land. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be no conspiracy theories or hidden facts about Disney that they don't want you to. I mean, it's all about living with the land. How great the attraction is, and I'm hoping to see you all there. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go lay down on the ground very flat and quiet for a while. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.